Coach, Broncos are coming off a close loss at Wisconsin last week and now head to number 2 Ohio State this coming weekend. Start with an opening statement and your thoughts on last weekend, and we'll take some questions.
Yeah, I was really proud of our team and the way that they fought for 60 minutes. I thought our discipline, relentless effort was on display. I thought the coaches did an excellent job having our guys prepared. Thought we had a great plan in all 3 phases, and our players went out and played really well in the game. Showed no back down, no quit, and those things showed up and showed on display. I've said this before, but this is the best group of men that I've been around from a total locker room standpoint. The overall growth and development of our team, I think, showed up on Friday night against Wisconsin. You saw a lot of leadership, a bunch of guys who've played a lot of football for us show up and make plays in big moments and in critical situations against a really good football team. So I thought that those were really positive. I think our recruiting and player development of players really showed up. We played 56 players in the game. 16, made their debut. 16 players made their debut, and I think it's just a credit to the recruitment of really good players that have made immediate impact, but then also what our strength staff has done, what our coaches have done from a player development standpoint to continue to grow the guys that we have in the program. And I thought that we are so much further ahead this year from where we were last year, which is exactly right where we should be. And so a couple of things that we have to clean up as we move forward. We can't get emotionally hijacked in the game in critical situations. I thought in the fourth quarter we allowed our emotions to dictate our responses, and we can't allow that to happen, so we need some more emotional maturity and have to take a step there in the right direction. And then just finishing. Having that killer instinct when you have the ability late in games to finish, that killer instinct and mentality to go finish and be able to win a game in the fourth quarter. Because really, when you look at that game, for 3.5 quarters, we played really well, really disciplined, smart, sound football. For the last 10 minutes, we didn't. We did some things that we didn't do at other points in that game, and ultimately that's what cost us the game. And so I talked to our leadership council yesterday about being able to move forward, looking at the things that we can grow and develop and how do we adjust and adapt and adjust as we move forward, but turning the page. And we've got a great opportunity this week against a really good Ohio State football team, nationally ranked, top 5 opponent. They are really good. They're really talented on all 3 levels in all 3 phases. Coach Day has done an excellent job, him and his staff, building a great roster. But then I was really impressed as I watched these guys on film how disciplined they play. Not only are they really good players, but they are a disciplined football team. They don't beat themselves. They're where they should be, and they make the plays that they should. And really good football teams do that. So it'll be a great challenge for us, and it starts with our week of preparation.
Questions?
What does just being competitive in this game at Wisconsin do for these players? I know they probably already had this kind of confidence coming into this game, but where does it stand now, knowing that you took a lead in the fourth quarter of that game, that game was right there, you probably felt like you should have won that game. Just where's the confidence in this team, knowing that you guys are right on the doorstep against a Big Ten opponent like that? That's
a really great question, and one that I talked to our leadership council about yesterday and our team this morning in our team meeting. One of the things that I will say is because of the kids that we have in the locker room, young men that we have in our locker room, they care. And they're competitive, and they want to win. And so losing hurts. They were upset about the plays that they didn't make. And really what you try to do as a coach is point out the positives and show how you can learn and grow from the things that you didn't do as well and that you need to do better. But because they care so much, they sometimes dwell on the mistakes or they know that we had an opportunity in that game. They know that there were probably 3 plays in that game that affected the outcome, and we didn't make the 3 plays that we needed to. And so they were hurt. They were hurting. because they're competitive and want to win. And as a coach, it's your job to really, try to get them to see the positives, all the things that we did do well. So we did a lot of really good things in that football game, like you just mentioned. Defense didn't allow a single play over 20 yards. They played bend but don't break. They tightened up in the red zone all night. We got our hands on balls. We got to get some opportunities for some takeaways. Offensively, I thought we ran the ball well. We protected the passer. We didn't have a sack until the fourth quarter there. Once we got behind, it became obvious passing downs. And then special teams, I thought our guys played on, with their hair on fire. They played with relentless effort and physical passion, which was great to see. And we made some game-changing plays in special teams. But the consistency not to have those game-altering plays or mistakes as well.
When you look at that defensive unit, I know you just spoke to it, but again, they really seem to step up in Friday's game. If you could just talk a little more about what you saw from that unit, again, under first-year coordinator Coach Power and his system, and just what you guys really were able to take away from their performance overall.
Yeah, defensively, I was really proud of the way that they played. I thought that they played fast. They were physical. They knocked the ball down. I thought Coach Power had an excellent game plan, had our guys well prepared to play confidently. Our defensive staff did an excellent job really having our guys playing confidently. And then the players went out and executed. That's what we've talked about a bunch just philosophically is be bend but don't break, keep the ball inside and in front, rally and tackle, and have 11 hats on the football. I think one of the things that we've got to grow in is just wrapping up. I think from a tackling standpoint and from a fundamental standpoint, we are so much further ahead right now than where we have been, and that part's exciting. But when we have opportunities to get the ball carrier on the ground, we got to have the first guy wrap and roll and make sure and get him on the ground. So there's some things that we can continue to improve, and we just mentioned it, but they had a couple of opportunities for turnovers or takeaways, and when a team gives you opportunities, you have to make them pay for it, and you have to take advantage of those, and we didn't. But overall, our defense played extremely well all night. I thought BK Blaukone played excellent. He showed up in the run game and the pass game. He was physical. He was all over the field. He did an excellent job. I thought Don Willis did an excellent job at linebacker. He really showed up in the run game, was physical. That was exciting to see. And we played a bunch of guys on defense by design, and I think it helps build depth and get some not necessarily young guys, but inexperienced guys, some great, valuable in-game experience.
I know last week and now this week, again, two programs that a lot of these guys, I'm sure, maybe wanted to be recruited by Wisconsin, Ohio State, and coming here instead and having a chance to still play those two teams. When you alluded to it a little bit last week as well, but just guys trying to keep their heads about them playing these programs that they'd love to probably show, hey, yeah, you missed out on me. But how have you kind of seen guys maybe balance that? Maybe some of the Wisconsin kids balance that, and how do you hopefully try to carry that over into another big matchup against Ohio State?
Yeah, we have 7 kids on our roster from the state of Ohio. So a lot of kids from that state grew up probably watching the Buckeyes, probably cheering for the Buckeyes and hoping that they would play for the Buckeyes. Now they get an opportunity to play there just on the other sideline. And I think our team as a whole has been excited. They were really excited last week to go play a really good Wisconsin team. They're really excited this week to come back and play, a nationally ranked Ohio State team and really to continue to compete. And that's what I've seen about this group. That's what I love about this group. I think we all saw that in the game on Friday. This group plays hard for each other. The bond and brotherhood off the field shows up on the field, and they play really hard for each other, and there's no quit in them. And so they're going to give us everything that we, ask of them and more on Saturday. It'll be another great test for us. And I think, you alluded to it, but not being not allowing the external factors to determine how we play, whether it's Ohio State, whether they're, ranked number 2 in the country or whatever, no matter whether you're playing on TV or it's a night game or the crowd noise, not allowing external factors to dictate how we play, but showing up and playing to the Broncos standard every single play and every single week.
Coach, one of the things I was impressed with out of your team was the lack of penalties. There were very few penalties taken in that game in a difficult environment. How did you see that?
I thought we played really disciplined for 3.5 quarters. I thought the last 10 minutes of the game, we didn't have a penalty until the fourth quarter. We didn't have a turnover until the fourth quarter, and we had multiple of each in the fourth quarter when it matters the most. And so that's where we talked about really making sure that we stay disciplined, not being emotionally hijacked or allowing the highs and lows of a game to affect your emotional state. You want to play passionate and with emotion, but don't want to be emotional. And that's really hard to do because we're all human. And when great things happen, you naturally, natural instincts are to get really high. And when things don't go well, human instincts are to get down. And we have to fight that to stay neutral, really focus on the next play. But I really thought from a discipline standpoint, we really took a great step in the direction that we wanted to head. And one thing that we've been talking about since I've gotten hired here.
The game kind of turned on that punt play that bounced off one of your coverage guys. How did you see that play?
Yeah, that's a play I think we all would love to have back. Jordan Parker is the returner on that play. Love for him to get a better read on the football, a better jump to get to the catch spot. He didn't feel like he read it correctly off the foot and, didn't want to put the ball in jeopardy or bobble it and have a potential turnover. So you would love for him, first thing, you'd love for him to field that ball. But then the biggest coaching point was if you don't field that ball, we have a poison call, which alerts the other 10 guys on the field that are blocking for you that aren't watching the football because you're the only one on the field watching the football. And so, Bustle is competing his tail off, blocking for the return, doing exactly what he's supposed to do, and didn't see the ball hit the ground, and it bounces up and it hits Bustle, and they wind up getting on it. And that's one of those unfortunate plays that really was not Bustle's fault. We've all got to do a better job of making sure that, one, we field the ball. Two, if we don't field the ball, we make the call so the other players know, and we point out where it is so that they can get away and not put the ball in jeopardy or get in harm's way there.
You have a lot of returning starters on both sides of the ball, but one guy made his first start, Naquan Washington, after transferring in. What'd you think of his play in the cornerback spot?
Yeah, I thought Naquan played really well. He's a guy who really impressed us during training camp. He may have been the defensive MVP coming out of training camp with his play. I mean, the guy is always around the football. He's a ball hawk. There were multiple days we came out of training camp where he had multiple interception days and really played really well. The thing I love about Naquan is his toughness and his ability to compete. I mean, the guy loves to compete, and it's evident in how he practices and shows up every single day. But you want a corner out there who's willing to compete. Doesn't matter who the receiver is. Doesn't matter if he just got beat on a deep ball or not. Those guys have to have a short memory, and he does. And I expect him to get his hands on several footballs this year.
How long has Palmer kind of been on you guys for having an opportunity like that to pull off a field goal fake, and then the way he delivered for you guys? Was he, strutting his stuff on the sidelines afterwards?
Yeah, Palmer's a really good athlete. When I first got hired here, everybody wanted to talk about how good of a high school player Palmer was, and athlete, and played multiple positions. And he's always in our fourth quarter competition drills during winter workouts. He's always one of the top finishers. He does a great job competing in the weight room, and that was one that we spent a lot of time on in terms of preparation, a lot of study, making sure that we had the look that we wanted. And then, for him to go out and execute in that moment, he had ice in his veins and really did exactly what you wanted him to do. I thought, the snapper, RJ, did a great job. The holder, Ryan, does an excellent job setting up the fake and then throwing a no-look shot over his shoulder. And then really one of the key players on that play is Corey Walker. Corey Walker is the wing. He slips out and really blocks the one defender who really could disrupt the play and is there for the fake. He did an excellent job getting out, making sure that he took care of his man. And then Palmer did a really nice job staying on track, trusting his blocker, and he even made one guy miss, so he had some yards after contact in one carry. But no, I mean, he did a great job. I think, to your point, he was really excited about that play, but if you ask Palmer, he was more disappointed about the field goal, the previous field goal, than he was excited about the play he made. And so that's just the type of kid he is and type of teammate he is, and we've got a bunch of those guys.
It just felt like you guys got more consistent pressure, kind of touching on Nate, just his question about the defense and just how they played. Just in terms of just like the blitzes and the looks that you guys gave, is that something that's going to be expected, in the future for this team, or is that just going to be something that's going to be by opponent? Did you see that coming into Wisconsin, or do you want to be more aggressive on defense this year?
We always want to be aggressive on defense, whatever that means, whether it's blitzing, not blitzing. One of the things that I've challenged our defensive line with in particular is whether we rush 4 guys or we blitz, we want to be able to affect the quarterback. The first thing that you have to do to play great defense is stop the run. I thought we were really good in the run game and on run downs. And then not allow explosive plays that turn into touchdowns. Not allowing a play over 20 yards was huge. And I think that you've got a lot of guys right now on defense who've played a lot of football, who really grew and got so much better by playing last year and going through what we went through this offseason. And we've added some really good players who have made an immediate impact. We now have some depth where we can roll guys, keep guys fresh. I think that's important. But I think each week we will be, depending on what our opponent gives us, depends on what we will do defensively. I always want to be in attack mode and be aggressive defensively, but that doesn't necessarily mean blitzing or bringing pressures. But even from that standpoint, I thought our linebackers and secondary guys did a really nice job with their blitz pass and blitz patterns, affecting the quarterback and really affecting the game that way.
And you never want to see injuries, but I saw Kenny on the sidelines this past weekend, and then I didn't see Adam Vandervest on the depth chart. So
Yep.
Can you just give me a status on the trajectory of those injuries and when you expect them to be back?
Yeah. So Adam Vandervest had a knee injury. He will be out for the season. Very unfortunate for him. He was our starting left tackle. Really, in the spring, coming out of spring football and our winter workouts, he won our spring Most Improved Player Award. He really was doing some really nice things for us, had worked his tail off coming back. He's played a lot of football, but he worked really hard, one, to change his body in the weight room, but then also his technique and fundamentals from an O-line standpoint. And so happened earlier in camp where he had a knee injury. He's had surgery and will be out for the rest of the year. He was one of those guys that is from the state of Wisconsin. We made him an honorary captain just because he means that much to the guys in the locker room. They wanted to see him as captain, and I thought that was special for him, being able to go home even though he wasn't going to get to play in the game. I know it tore him up, not being able to play and help his team in those moments. But he still provided leadership even though he's not playing or practicing right now, just helping coach the younger guys. Kenny has a hand injury. He will be week to week. I don't think that we will have him for this week, but he could be available after this week at any point. Really depends. He had a broken bone. Depends on how quickly it heals, and when he gets some bone laid over that, he'll be back.
Is that the right or left?
It's his right hand.
The first game with the green dots, your linebacker and your quarterback, how did that go for the staff?
Yeah, first game with the green dot communication from coach to player, with the communication in the players' helmets, and then also the first time in college football to use iPads. So, college football, we're now in the 21st century, and what high schools have been doing for 15 years now. But I thought it went really smoothly. I thought our communications directors and Connor Coker, our equipment guy, did a great job making sure that those things ran smoothly. When Wahlberg went out of the game because of the targeting penalty, I thought our defensive coaches and players really adjusted and adapted really well. That player has a much bigger impact and influence now with the green dot than he ever has before, because he's making every single call on the field and he's communicating to every single person what to do. And so when you lose your Mike linebacker and the guy who's made every call, since the beginning of training camp, you hope it doesn't affect you. But I thought, Boone Bonema and Dominic Moon both went in and did an excellent job. There was no lapse or gaps in communication defensively. Offensively, the feedback from the quarterback, or Hayden in particular, was, went really smoothly. He and Coach Bell have worked out some kinks, or talk through some issues that they've had previous during practice, which that's why it's great to use it in practice and scrimmage situations, so that when you get in game situations, you hope it goes smoothly. It went smoothly. I thought the iPads are a huge game changer, being able to see the play almost immediately and give great feedback and instruction. I hope it really gave our coaches confidence in the adjustments that we made on the sideline and also coming out of halftime.
Coach, the transfer portal's a couple of years in the making now, and just looking back at the first week plus of college football, there doesn't seem to be as much lopsidedness between some of these teams. It seems to be there are more competitive games than we've maybe seen early in the season in the past. Do you see it that way?
I didn't get to watch much college football in week one, leading up, preparing for Wisconsin. I watched a lot of Wisconsin games from last year and the previous season, but I didn't see many college games. I caught a couple of highlights. I did see that there were some really competitive games. I do think that the transfer portal has helped narrow the gap in some ways, but I think it's really widened the gap in other areas. I mean, when you look at especially, NIL and collectives and what people were able to, really offer, at times it makes the gap seem even wider. I think that we're competing on a different playing field than those guys, just being honest and realistic. And the reality of it is that gap is only going to continue to widen. And we're not playing on the same playing field that they are. But to me, that's where it comes down to, one, doing a great job recruiting, but building a great culture that kids want to stay in. And so we've used the transfer portal to our advantage here. We've added some really great impact players. We had 17 starters come back, didn't lose a single starter or impact role player from last year's team that got in the portal, and I think that has to do with relationships. I think that has to do with culture. I think that it has to do with them knowing that you care and really believe in wanting to help them grow and develop. And Marshawn Nealon was a great example last year. If you stay here, you can reach all your goals on and off the field, and Marshawn was the second pick by the Dallas Cowboys, and that was a $9 million decision for him staying. That worked out pretty well.
What do you want to see out of your team this week against Ohio State?
The biggest thing I want to see this week is playing to the Broncos standard. And I say that all the time, right? But it really doesn't matter what the score is. Doesn't matter who the opponent is. Doesn't matter where we play. If we play up to our standard. And what does that mean? That means playing with relentless effort. We talk about effort. We talk about those attitude plays of explosive, winning the explosive battles. We talk about toughness in terms of taking care of the football and then getting takeaways on defense. And then the discipline part to have no pre or post-snap penalties. To me, those are self-inflicted wounds. But if we take care of those four categories, we're going to give ourselves a chance to win a lot of games this year and be in a lot of football games there at the end, just like we were on Friday night. And I want to continue to play to our traits and to our standard.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.